Hello and welcome to the BreakingHeads Podcast number 21. I'm Fred, the founder of the BreakingHeads, and today we're going to have a podcast about Harlequins. And it's not only about Harlequins, it's about the winner of the WARPhammer Championship 21 who happened to play some Harlequins. And this is Liam. I'm very happy to have you here. Hello, Liam.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be there also. It's going to be a nice podcast, I suppose. So, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. We already discussed we are three Harlequin player here, just the three of us, because we have one more. And with us, this is Tom, my co-host. Tom, thank you for being here.
Hello there.
So, as I said, we are interviewing Liam, who won the WARPhammer Championship. Who doesn't know what this is? I will explain in a second. We found out, we are not sure, but we think it's the biggest 40k single player tournament in TTS. As of yet, it had 122 players. If it's not, please leave a comment and tell us we are not humble enough. But it was a pretty big TTS tournament. It lasted more than 8 weeks. We had, how many rounds did we have? I think we had like 9 rounds, like a group stage, playoffs, and so on. And yes, Liam managed to beat all of his opponents, left even very little points on the way. And yeah, we have been casting his games, especially in the final stage before, and already we had there some short pre and post game interviews. But today we really want to dig in and find out who's Liam as a player, and we want to explore his views on 40k in general and his ideas about list building. This will be basically what I just said will be our first part. We always have a 2-part podcast, and this is more the general part. And we will also cover the army list and analyze this list in general in this part. After that, and then usually we have been talking for an hour or maybe more if Tom doesn't stop me. We are going to have a second part, and there we more discuss the meta and the matchup this Harlequin list has to face, and what's going good for the Harlequin and some matchup, what's going bad for others, and like maybe find out a little bit the tricks, the strategies, the tactics, how to solve these matchups. And from my view, I've seen Liam playing a lot of Harlequins throughout, like the whole last year as well. And I'm sure we're going to have a very interesting discussion there in part 2 to find out how the list really plays in the game. Okay. Now you guys know how this is going to go about, and let's maybe introduce our guest a bit more, so we really know who's this guy, Liam. He didn't just win the championship, but also he has been playing competitively since 2018, but really started to go into the competitive scene since he has joined Team Belgium 40k. He's Belgium, and from there on has been playing in analog tournaments, and then of course a pandemic happened, and then also lost in the TTS scene. I think many people who have been active in the TTS scene know his name. Maybe also the other team that went second in the biggest team tournament in TTS as of yet, the Greek Hammer tournament.
Third.
Was it third? Oh, wait, who was second? The Polish.
Poland.
Oh,
Yes.
Sorry, divers. So the third place, which is Hottest Takes. It's like I think like international ensemble of TTS players, right?
Yes, it's me and some friend from some Discord group. Because when you play a lot of TTS, you definitely meet some guys. So that's nice.
Yeah, you cross the nation borders, and the scene is much more like spread out apart.
Yeah.
Okay, so Team Discord made third place. So you have already, and I think you were the captain there, right?
Yes, it was only for the name. I was doing the pairing, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So as you guys can see, Liam has been playing also outside of the championship, has also experienced in the team format now. And to just name a few more numbers, because I always have to say how great my guests are. Liam has also played in all of the invitationals of the Tactical Turtles TTS League until now, which is 2, and he reached the second place in the first invitational and the quarterfinals in the second one. And I think you have been playing in lots of other tournaments, and I've seen you on in the final table of different ones with many different players. Maybe not as big as the championship yet, but you have been a very active TTS player. And one last note: by winning the championship, you have also been invited to play in the German Invitational at the Analog Tournament, the Tabletop Masters Finals, in the end of the year. And I'm really happy, looking forward to see you play there.
Me too.
It's
going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
And we will finally have analog tournament. So that's
yes.
Hopefully, yes.
I'm still a bit hopefully it can happen. I'm a bit shy to start organizing going yet, but looking forward to that.
Yes, me too.
Okay, so now I've introduced you, and now I think we can start with our first questions, right, Tom? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. We can start with the first questions, I think, and the most obvious question that comes to mind when you hear that somebody is so successful after Harlequins have been in the meta for quite a while. My first question would be, why did you choose Harlequins? What was it that draw you towards them, and what is it about the faction that made you confident that you can win a tournament with them still?
I would say movement. It's back in the day, mainly when the White Dwarf come out, I fall in love with that faction when I saw all the movement tricks you can do. Because basically with Harlequin you can move in every phase, and I think you have a lot of options. That give you a lot of option overall, so that's very nice you can move in every phase, and that make that if I play well, I'm going to be rewarded for that, and I was quite enjoy that. I didn't want to play. I don't like to roll dice. I'm not here to roll dice. I don't. So the only phase where we don't roll dice is when we move. So I quite enjoy to make all my gameplay around the movement, and I think that Harlequin overall is probably the best faction for movement. It's the more faster faction. I think it's the faction that have the most movement trick, I think. So, yes.
Did you get into Harlequins when the White Dwarf update came out, or also before that?
No. I really before I was a Chaos player. I'm still a Chaos player, but I mainly play Chaos. And I wanted to change a little bit because I begin to, even if I have 5 codex in Chaos, I was always playing a little bit the same thing, I find. So I wanted to change a little bit to a more... Chaos is really around the synergy, so you put everything into one unit and it becomes unkillable or very good in killing stuff. So I wanted to change to a more in Harlequin, it's everything working his own, I kind of say, and I wanted to change, so I begin to play Harlequin. So voila.
That's a big change, actually.
Yeah.
Chaos is not that fast and really relying that sometimes some power goes off, and if your important unit might be dead, you cannot do anything. But Harlequin, every unit can do everything it feels.
Yeah, that's quite a big change. In fact, that's really a big change. But I think that to begin a better player, you have to be able to do different things. And I was playing Chaos with relatively success. I was quite enjoyed by Chaos, but I thought, why not? Hey, why not change a little bit and go for a new thing? And at the end, it happened that Harlequin was very good, so I continued to play them, and I quite enjoy them. I'm sometimes going back to Chaos, but after having playing Harlequin for so long, I don't think I'm not good. I cannot stop to play them. They're
addicted.
Yes, I'm addicted to.
Okay. So the next question is always on the playstyle. You said a couple of words on that already. So movement specifically and being able to move in every phase. How does that match your playstyle? Do you more utilize it to always be in cover when you need to be in cover, or do you use it to just go all in and face out and just smash everything, which is probably not the best tactics with Harlequins as far as I learned.
I learned the hard way.
Yeah, I learned it the hard way for sure. So how do you utilize it in your playstyle? How does it match your playstyle?
You are going to kill me because I'm going to say that I'm not moving basically. No, but basically what I like to do is Harlequin. I'm a very defensive player overall, I think.
Okay.
I think that overall the best way to play the more safer way is to go defensively, but you have to know when you have to switch, you know.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you don't have the choice to go aggressive. And also it's really, when you play in team format also, if you only play defensive to like win by 10 points or 5 points, it's not going to give anything to a team. And because I'm a team player mainly, I think, so I have to be able to go aggressive. So what I would say is that I play defensively until I see a mistake or like something go wrong, and at that point I switch completely to go aggressive, and I go full in. And that's why I play Harlequin, because with like bike we move 22 in one movement phase, or like even player with 1 CP you move 17 out of a transport.
Yeah.
It's really easy to be in your deployment zone, be defensive, and when you see the mistake you jump into the mistake and you attack your opponent. So
So you're basically able to react at any time because you're so fast, right?
yeah, that's the idea.
Is it something you have adopted from playing Harlequins, like learning how Harlequins tick, or is something you felt like you brought it in there?
No. I was playing Harlequin, so at the beginning I was quite enjoyable. Like, oh, you can spend 2 CP to have +1 damage, and you can. So at the beginning I was mainly playing like 20 player on foot plus 10 bike in 8th edition and things like that, and I was constantly like very aggressive with them, and that worked a little bit. That worked well, I guess, but sometimes like that doesn't work. Like, it's really risky. Like, you really depend on the dice. Like, if you fail to kill something really important, it could go wrong. And I saw that it could. I see very times where I win, but only because I roll the dice to 4-up when I need it or something like that. And it's not a good strategy. Like, if you want to win every time you play, you have to be as safe as possible. So I decided to go more defensively. So I begin to play really, really defensively. But at one point, I find that like sometimes if you play too defensively, you just get a run over and stuff like this. So I find that in fact the best way to play is to be able to switch between those. And then the next step was to really learn when I have to switch. Like, it's that I think that's the more complicated thing, is to choose the good time to switch from defensive to aggressive play.
And then you go all in, right? And with the Harlequins, you have the high mobility to easily do that. Yeah, I see that. I mean, definitely. I think in the beginning of nines, people were a bit complaining that you always have to play defensively because you don't know where, if you can go first. And then some armies are really punished by that because they just don't have the movement and so on. Would you ever consider playing something like this? Like, as you said, you still play some demons sometimes. Do your demon list look the same, or is it like completely different? Do you have a very fast demon list?
No, I have a really different. I'm playing a ping span, so it's all because when you split,
pink horrors who don't die.
Yes, and you can split, and that allow you to do a movement trick. So I quite enjoy that, and it's quite the opposite. The idea is that you're going to charge me, and you're going to make mistake, and I'm going to use that to basically charge you back with pink and gain movement from charging. No, it's a real. I like having a very defensive, very different approach with my list, so I don't have to always play the same way of list.
But it's also waiting for the opponent's mistakes. That's what you just said, right? It's also trying to abuse the mistakes by the opponent.
Yes, but I fall the mistake. Like, I always want to put me in a situation where if nothing happen, I still win. So even if the guy, like, and yes. So
that's why, I mean, this is a topic for later, but that's why often you probably choose the where we stand, we fight, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's the best ever.
That's going to be an interesting topic for the matchups of how you react in certain situations if it turns out that probably the game doesn't go the way you want because opponents doesn't make a mistake or doesn't attack or something. So that's going to be interesting to see in the matchups. The question that comes up as well is when I looked over your list first, I'm not that much of an experienced player in Harlequins in general, I have to say, but it does have some aspects in it, some details in it that are kind of confusing to the typical Harlequin list, let's say. You don't see a lot of fusion pistols, and there are some things in there. We will talk about it in a second about the whole architecture of a list. But before we go into the details, a question on how do you start building a list? How do you go over building your list from scratch? You will probably not do it like me, download something and try to understand how it works. You might do it differently. So how do you go about creating a list in the very first place?
Really, first I play that what I think is strong, like, and I play test that, and also I play really what I like playing, like, my list, if you look to like back 6 months ago, it's still very similar. I guess it's because I'm playing Harlequin and I don't have a lot of choice, but really I want to do close combat. I don't like shooting really, so I go for Frozen Star. And like, if you go Frozen Star, why not having a bunch of melee weapon to do more damage in close combat? And then thing go like this. And like, for example, for fusion pistol, I don't like rely on dice, like I said before, and I find that fusion pistol is like 5 shots.
Yeah.
It's the definition of rolling dice. Like, you have only 5 dice, and you don't have any reroll. Like,
and
you can do
the damage is a huge variant as well, right?
Yes, you can do everything or nothing. So I see the point of, like, if you have 30 fusion pistol, that stabilizes, like, you're going to have around what you will expect, but yes, it's not for me, I suppose. But for building list specifically, yes. For Harlequin, it was relatively easy, I want to say, because there is not a lot of, like, it's really, you choose the unit and then you just have to change the weapon or change the idea of, you don't have a lot of options, so it's easy to not do mistake, I suppose.
Yeah, you can do mistakes if you take white beavers, maybe, but that's about it.
Even if you take them for good reason, I suppose.
Yeah, if you have a good reason, okay.
Oh, come on. No, don't mislead people. No, void reaver are shit in any situation.
No, they were not in 1 point. Like, I'm going to say that I was putting 1 in my list because it was my Wawistan. I was running a boat. Basically, I had an empty Star Weaver who was my last Wawistan, and he was always sitting in my deployment zone, and I was there. Why not upgrade that to a Void Raven? Well, at the end, I play very few games with that list. So
is that when you were also playing the solitaire who was only doing Wawistan 5?
Yeah, it was. It was yes, it was not in no it was one model. It was one model back in the day. No, it's impossible.
Yes,
of course.
Okay, very good. So Fred, do you have anything else on the general questions, or shall we go into the architecture of the list?
Yeah, it's something maybe. I'm sure it's a question or the demand for a story, because I have seen many different lists from you, and as you say, there's not much variety in the Harlequin Codex. But for Harlequin players, I feel you can really see how small differences can make a big change. So tell me, what was the story of this list you have played at the WARPhammer Championship? Was it just like the random number 10 that you had in your battle scribe and you choose this one, or was it
no?
How did you choose this one to play at this tournament?
So basically, I did a pause with Harlequin between like October and November. And I came back to Harlequin in December. And at that point, I was running a double patrol list because I was quite enjoyable the troop master going out of the transport with a Skyrider. So I had a little patrol of like soaring spite with like 3 boats with some fusion, because voila, it's still right. And it was more for scale my opponent and like be able to screen. And at the end, I was very often using them like go out, advance, and go take an objective from my opponent. But yes, and I was running 3 boats with like 5 troops with fusion, and then I was running the Incarn. I was quite enjoyable the Incarn, and like I had like a second soaring spite patrol with a second Frozen Star with like 2 boats with little unit of troop with close combat and 2x5 bike and like the Shadow Seer. And then I saw that the Incarn is very fun but too expensive, so I went back to like a big unit of troop. And then I was there, okay, it's nice, but the aura from the Shadow Seer only buff 1 detachment. And I was quite limited on CP, I find, because I had only like 8 and I didn't regain only. And also I'll find that the Skyrider Warlord tray is very nice, but you can play without them. Like, I think like it's really useful sometimes, but it's not that important at the end. Like you can do thing without. So I thought, but why not go back to one detachment with everything Frozen Star in that case? So that allowed me to everything is benefiting from my aura from the Shadow Seer. I have the True Master as Frozen Star with a +1 attack. They became a little bit beefy in combat. And I have more important, I can choose another Warlord trait and take the CP regen to have more CP, because in Harlequin, like CP is really, really important, I find.
So you would. So sorry to interrupt you there, because we are gonna list your gonna go through the list in a second. So you would say it was really like a lot of testing, and then you found this was the best thing you could run at this moment.
Yeah,
okay.
I think. It was the one I enjoyed the most, I would say. Like, like I like bike. Well, I like the Skyweaver. There are maybe like I heard, like I did talk with some people, and they are very expensive, and in some matchup when there is no vehicle, they don't do shit in shooting. They do very little in shooting, I would say. And sometimes the close combat is unreliable, but I just like bike. The fact that they move 22, they shoot, they fight, they can the jump and the fall back after fighting is very effective on them. So I like bike. So that's mainly like voila.
Okay, then let's now look at what the list exactly looks like. And could you just list the slots you have filled and tell us what detachment that is and what subfaction it belongs, and relics and so on we will talk about later.
Okay. So basically I'm playing a lonely battalion to have as many CP as possible. And it's a Harlequin battalion, Soaring Spy, Frozen Star. I did the lapses, sorry. Frozen Star battalion. Everything is in the Frozen Star. So I have 2 Troop Master, 1 Shadow Seer. Then I have 6 unit of player. So basically I have 5 little unit of player. And each of them has a different weapon to be able to have a toolbox. So I have a 1 5-man with so I have 2 5-men with kisses, 1 5-man with caress, 1 6-man, sorry, I lied, it's not 5-man, 1 6-man with embrace. This one is really important overall. And then I have 1 5-man with like 4 fusion pistol in it, if I'm correct. And then I have a 12-man player. So yeah, I get blast, but it's a 12-man with all of them have a caress. So that's for the troop part. Then I have the 1 elite slot, is the Dev Jester. And I'm not going. So the Dev Jester, so the sniper. And then I have 2 fast attack slots. 2 unit of 5 Skyweaver with AOR cannon and Zephyr glaive. And finally I have the 5 boat for my 5 unit of troop and the character. So 5 Star Weaver. So that's the list.
So it's basically a Soaring Spy list as a Frozen Star list, right? Because this is the archetype you have seen many people run at the beginning of 9th edition, but they were all fusion boat lists, and you have only 4 fusion in the whole army.
No, I think I have I have 5 in this list, because I didn't say that. Basically, 1 troop master has a kiss and a fusion pistol.
There's the 5th fusion pistol.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, take care. Care.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like a Soaring Spy list. Just the loadout gives it away that this is something different for sure. Yeah. And it works differently, I assume. So we will go into all the details of this list.
Okay.
Maybe we go through the single selections and a little bit about what their general role in the game is. That makes sense.
So let's begin with the first one, the Warlord, the Shadow Seer. So the Shadow Seer is quite central overall, even if at the end he's alright. So he's basically my Warlord. He has the Player of the Twilight Warlord trait, so it's the Regen CP, like I spoke about before. He know he's a Psyker, he know 2 spell, he know Twilight Pathway, so the double move. Really important when I want to go aggressive, and sometime on player, sometime on bike, depends. But at the end, I often use that spell only like 1 time on the game. It's not like voila. And then he has another one that I like a lot. It's what's the name? Shard of Light. So it's basically a targeted smite who do -1 leadership.
Mhm.
So that's very useful because I can do a smite, shard of light, who do -1 leadership, and that help then to, when he's gun, to do also mortal in the shooting phase.
Yeah.
So that's nice. And then I'm spending 1 CP to give him 2 pivotal rolls. So
Mhm.
I suppose everyone know what pivotal role here is.
Yeah.
And he has the shield off from arm pivotal role, so the -1 to wound for infantry. And he has the more important one, the Veil of Illusion, the add 6 to the range of the gun weapon that target a Harlequin unit within 6 of him.
Mhm.
So this one is really is really useful in the early game to make sure that I don't suffer too bad from range weapon.
Mhm.
And then he begin a little mortal wound factory on his own, and he begin to kill some stuff and like this.
And
And so
how have you found him throughout the tournament and also your games you have been playing now? I think in your BreakingHeads list you also had the Shadowseer in it, because I started throwing him out because I don't want to roll for a 6 double advance, and I feel I'm always close enough to my enemy anyways, and because I'm so close I don't need him -6. So do you feel like you need it? Is it tour? Is it more a threat? How do you see the position of the Shadowseer now?
So basically, before he was my YW10, and in some lane he's still my YW10, so that makes him quite important. But in that list, he is not. Basically, he gives the aura, and because, like I say, I tend to keep my bike and my player in my backfield. We were going to talk to that later, I suppose.
Mhm.
And the -6 inches is make sure that I don't get hit by some stuff. And overall, doing mortal wound in the magic phase is really useful in different matchup. It allows you to do damage in different phase. So I like him more for the mortal wound factory that he is than for the double move, for example. And the fact I have double move make that my opponent have to think that if I want, I can throw up my unit turn 1. Even if I never do that, it's still a possibility. Sometimes I try that just to, when I see a big mistake, I go for it.
Yeah.
But more in testing, but yes.
Yeah, as you
So,
said,
and
right? You want to exploit mistakes, and this gives you 16 more inches for exploitation.
yes. And he's the -1 to wound make that sometimes the mat go in my way when you charge something. Like the -1 to wound on player make that something you only just kill them and no because the -1 to wound. So it's really important because that could make an upset guys leave and now you don't have the point, and that's a primary thing. So that's nice. So I quite enjoy the Shadowseer overall. It's very often in my list. I saw about him out, but at the end he always come back. So voila. So I continue with my list. now.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
So then I have 2 characters, the 2 troop master. So they are there basically they give the reroll wound aura, but there are one who are the best one is of course the Twilight Fang troop master. So we all know how good he is. So I have he has the Twilight Fang and I'm spending a CP. So he has the 2 pivotal roll. He has the Darkness Bite and the Choreograph of War. So the Darkness Bite is the 2 mortal. I can choose a unit after I fight against immediate attack, and the unit take 2 mortal wounds. That help a lot. That makes sure that when I want to kill something, even if I roll bad, I can kill it without rolling dice. So again, no roll of dice. And then I have the second one, who are my toolbox true master. He also has a relic. So like I say, he has a kiss and a fusion pistol to make him a little bit beefy in combat, but not really. He's not there to kill stuff, but he has the domino shroud. So that one is it's so cool. So basically, the domino shroud allow you once per game at the end of any phase, your phase or the opponent phase, you choose a point within 12 inches of you, and you can basically deep strike within 1 inch with the troop master within 1 inch of that point. So that's really, really useful overall. So you can do a bunch of things with that. Basically, for example, I like to have reroll to wound when I fight, but if I send the unit aggressively, the unit dies, and then the troop master dies, and then the next turn I don't have reroll. But with the domino throw, I just say, okay, no, he come back in safety now, and so next turn I still have my reroll to win. So that's pretty nice. Or I can also use him like, for example, I disembark, put him back a win, and then I say within 12 inches an objective without anything on it, and I'm say, okay, I'm just at the end of your moral phase. I'm going to deep strike, so in my next turn I own this objective for like only the cost of one relic. That's very useful also. Also, what you can do is like screen deep strike, and then when the deep strike come out, you just say, hello, I'm not there anymore. So you deep strike in the open, and there is nothing to charge. So he has there is a lot of option with him. So I quite enjoy him.
How many times have you been able to do the objective grabbing trick? I have now played, I think, like 15 or 20 games with the domino shot, and I always want to do it, and it never happens.
No, that's an option, but realistically, that never happened. But that's like, if the opponent is a good player, it will never happen because he's going to take care. But like, if he saw an objective, like, and he didn't want it to go on that objective because he knows he's going to die whatever he put on that, and then he see the troop master, that's going to force him to throw up a random stuff to take the objective, and that make that in the later game he doesn't have that random stuff to take the objective, and that could swing the game.
Yeah, even if it doesn't work, it forces your opponent to react to it somehow, right?
Yes, that's really exact. So yes, and overall, I the more useful thing I think is the screen from deep strike. How many times like I have a little gap in my screen and I say, okay, I have to throw up something, but I don't want that to die, so I just throw up the domino, and I know I screen for free basically.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the big unit of players. I think this is the biggest unit I've seen yet in a at least at a top table. It's really the maximum, right? 12 players.
Yes.
12 players. You cannot have more. You also equip them with as many close combat weapons as possible.
Yeah.
And still, I feel like because I saw like I think maybe 3 games of yours in your list, they function the same way as the play of Twilight, and also this like objective grabbing things look like just as a threat and making people do something they wouldn't do, and not doing anything. Is that a right assumption?
So because it's one of the expensive units, it's very often the why we stand we fight unit, so I don't want them to go away. But what happens is that very often they are there screening my backfield, like the 3 or 2 first turn, doing nothing, holding my home objective. And then basically it's make that people cannot come in my deployment zone. Like they know if they come in my deployment zone, they are going to take 12 players with caress in the face. So that's really a threat. You're right. I think I never use it like that. I never use them like to charge something and to kill them in the opponent deployment zone. Like if the opponent make a mistake and charge me, like I'm going to charge you back with like 12 players and they do a whole bunch of damage. But yes, really it's a threat. And also there is one thing also, so in the first time they come in the list because I find that sometimes I have to kill big units. And I was thinking, what does the more damage in the list? It's the big player squad, the big player unit. So I was running 6 boats with all weapon before at one point, but I just swap to big troop to just like be sure that if like there is like I don't know, but there is like a Dimacrayon or something like that, I know that if I charge it, there is big chance I kill it. But at the end, like you say, I'm really use them defensively and as a threat. It's an expensive threat, but you know you have to buy your points. Like it's like my deployment zone is safe, and that's really important overall.
Can you give some more examples? What things you wanted to kill? Like the Macaron, yes. If you don't have the fusions, you need something for it, and like a 5-man squad doesn't do it. What else do you want to kill?
I was playing against Death. I had a friend who was playing Death Watch, and I was struggling killing like big unit of 10 primaries without committing too many things. So I want to kill them. Also, like 30 boys, like those one. If there is 60 boys next to each other, there is a big change. Like with charging them, double fighting, I kill both of them. So stuff like that. Also, overall, they will kill anything. Like I'm sure I send them to kill like I don't know a character like a tough character or like killing like a 10-man like a 5-man blade guard or thing like that. Even if I fail to kill the 5-man, I'm going to kill 4 blade guard, and at that point the unit is not useful anymore. So they are really a damage. And like when I want to switch to aggressive to defensive, they are really useful to do bunch of damage. So and with the -1 to wound, and I can always spend the 1 CP to give them a 3-up involve. I tend to not do that, but it's always an option. They begin relatively resistant in the meta, like when there is big damage gun that does nothing to them. So when I send them, they tend to survive, and also they are really useful against Death Guard because they are damage 1, strength 5, AP 2, perfect weapon into that. So really when I need to kill stuff, I use them. So they will kill almost whatever they touch. They won't kill like Mortarion, but yes, they will at least, they will kill like 5 Plague Marine on objective or like 3 Dash Road, maybe not 5, but maybe 3. Stuff like this,
It's a nice unit, yeah.
Yes.
I
And
think
also,
this is
also what I want to point out is that I go for blast. Like if you shoot at me with blast weapon, you will have blast. It's basically I did go for that because it was really important for me to make sure that the stuff is done when I need it. And I didn't care about like most of the time blast weapon is never going to shoot at me. Like if you have like no I guess in most matchup,
yeah.
like when there is no line of sight blast, that's another story. I have to do a different thing with them and you play them differently. But against most matchup, there is never blast weapon is never going to reach them.
Yeah, I mean, you have to consider the matchups you're facing, and if the Astra Militarum player has lots of blast with indirect fire, okay, but maybe your matchup is good against this anyways, so you don't need this. Yeah.
Basically, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Like the only one is Admech, but I think we will talk to that later. But for Astra Militarum, really, like I already have a so good matchup that even if you have blast against me, like it's fine. Like
yeah, I think the Admech matchup is going to be very interesting because I think it's very tough for the Harlequins.
Yeah,
and I'm going to be interested in your thoughts on that.
No, the first Tyranid question that has to come. What about Hiveguard? I found that if you don't, I found that the Troopmaster charging in the first turn is a very important aspect to face Hiveguard, at least at the level where I play. So how do you handle that if the other side has, for example, 2 units of Hiveguard? Can you still hide these guys? Does the 6-inch help? How do you handle that?
Yes, the 6 inches help a lot. Like basically on the long range deployment, like retrieval mission, even sweep and clear, and the Hiveguard doesn't reach me because I can be 30 away.
Yeah.
On the little one, like on hammer and on like Scorcher's head or thing like this, or even Overrun, they can, but like.
So they really need the babysitting from the Shadowseer, right? This is what, like, this unit is useless without the Shadowseer.
Yes, there are a lot. Without the Shadowseer, that help a lot. And against Hiveguard, basically, I don't have the move turn 1 Shadowseer Trollmaster to go kill a unit of Hiveguard, but I have a lot of like what I do is like Hiveguard with -1 to hit become really ineffective. So I play against Hiveguard a lot more aggressive than I usually do, I think. But Hiveguard, like most of they count on Hiveguard to do the damage, and like when Hiveguard, like they are not going to table me in 1 turn. So if I go like really aggressive in the middle of the board, I'm not going to reach you this turn. You're going to shoot me at 1 turn, but after that you're dead. So you're not going to kill everything in 1 turn. And against Hiveguard, like there is like if 1 unit of player touch them, they are dead. Even if I don't kill them and kill everything around and touch them with a boat, they're doing nothing. So they are relatively easy to handle, I think.
Nice, I understand. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think we have covered the Hiveguard matchup now. And we can say that we don't need to do that later anymore.
Oh, I have more questions on Tyrannids. You can
Oh, okay. Yeah, they also have more units than I've got. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's
interesting.
go back to the army list we have at hand. I think we covered like the most striking things in your list yet. Maybe we have to say for the viewers, your Death Jester has the ignore Overwatch. It's pretty obvious, I think. Any more specific questions to the army list, Tom? Or maybe we go more to the secondary and game plan stuff.
Yeah, I think we can move on. The rest is I think quite clear.
Okay. By the way, guys, if you speak German and you want to learn about Soaring Spite list, which looks similar but plays completely different, we had a podcast in October-ish where I interviewed the winner from the biggest German tournament, Micha, who also won with Harlequins, and there's more details on that. And I think also we go cover more like the basic units a bit back then. So you can still listen to that. It's still 9th edition and so on. Now looking at your army list and what you have talked about, we should maybe ask again what you think is your game plan for this. And do you think there's like, from what I heard, are there like 2 game plans? One is the being aggressive and the one is waiting, like luring for the opponent to make a mistake, and just hiding everything. Like I guess you really, I saw it. Yeah, you really like hide everything and then not give them any targets, right? This is basic Harlequin stuff.
Yeah, we don't want to get shot at. Yes. So yes, for the game plan, yes, like you say, hiding, but really it's about playing the mission. Like I would play really like we are talking in single tournament. It's really about knowing when you can see with secondaries what you have to do. Like that dictate a lot of my gameplay. So what I talk about secondaries now? Or?
Yeah, go ahead. Like just in general, what's your plan? Maybe in some matchups you want to go aggressive, then maybe you choose other secondaries also.
Yes, but overall, I have in that list 3 easy secondary that I can almost do in any matchup. 3 easy. There is one where I'm a little bit swingy, but there is 2 secondaries for sure. It's where we stand and engage. So those 2 are always locked. Like whatever happen, I can always do those 2 secondary.
Mm-hmm. And that would be the Sky reverse the 2 units and the big unit of players.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So my where we stand are the 2, but are basically the 2 unit of player and the unit of player and the 2 Skyweaver, like you say. And there is like why it's like it's all my punch is my where we stand. So why putting them as my where we stand? Because like they could charge and stuff. But because really what I find is that I'm often disappointed of them. Like when they go and they fail to kill, like I prefer keeping them as a threat, like we already discussed before. So having them in my backfield, screening my backfield is fine. And I'm very okay playing the game with only 5 boats. So that's for the where we stand. Engage, obviously, it's because I'm Harlequin, so I can throw up a empty boat or whatever to take the engage when I need. And so those one are really obvious. And the last one, I always have Scrambler is relatively easy with the list because I have a lot of little like I have the fusion unit, and like I say, I don't like them. The fusion unit is very often my action monkey unit, so they go in the middle doing Scrambler, and then I'm spending the strats to go back in deep strike and doing Scrambler in the enemy deployment zone. So I use them a lot for that. And on the mission where Scrambler, there is also the mission where banner is relatively easy to do. I do also banner because banner is relatively. I have a lot of infantry. I can use like even the dev jester to do a banner, to put a banner and stuff like that. So that's very cool with Harlequin. I have all my secondary luck, and basically I almost don't care about whatever my opponent is playing. So I can always say I'm going to take those 3. If nothing happened, I'm going to score all of those 3 mainly. Maybe not Scrambler depending on the matchup, but all the rest are really, really nice to score. So I'm putting pressure on my opponent if he take like assassinate, grind them down, like any secondary that need you to do stuff. Me, I can just stay and do nothing. So they have to come at me. and I can so use the mistake they do to win bigger, I suppose. And the other part of the mission is, of course, the primary. And for that, there is something really nice calling Star Weaver. And Star Weaver are really the key to play the mission. Because basically, against a shooty, like, if your opponent can only kill you in one phase, they cannot really. Maybe in shooting, maybe, but if your opponent is mainly combat, it begins to be really awkward to charge a Star Weaver with player inside on an objective. Because even if you kill the objective and you are not objective secured, I'm going to disembark and be on the objective and going to take the objective of you and still keep the objective. So that makes it's really hard for some army to win point on that, and they have to be really careful because if they do any mistake, I'm going to have some point really easily. And against shooting, it's also really easy because even like sometimes I cannot hide a boat, but players are relatively easy to hide. So I just put the boat in the open, you shoot the boat, and then the player disembark hiding on the objective. So that allowed me to play the mission relatively well. And also, but I'm not that great to hold objective. But there is the strat to fall back after I fight. So when something charge me and like doesn't kill me or like I interrupt, I can always use that strat and move in his movement phase, in his combat phase, and go on the objective and take it from him. So that also can give me a primary swing. So at the end, I often score 45 on primary, even if like my list is not really designed to hold the mission. And but that with all the opportunities I have with movement, there is a lot of time I can hold the objective.
How do you do the 45 points with primary? Because I've seen lots of Harlequins. They're very good at denying points, and sometimes they can really bank on their secondaries, as you said, right? It's like you obviously take engage in most matchups, and it's very easy to do, and you're really fast. You can do scramblers well, and if you and you have the opportunity to have units can fight and then can get out of combat again and be safe with them, so you can also go do very heavy fight. But I've seen lots of games, people, they just basically trade their units against like objectives, and then obviously it's just five guys on the objective, or even if it's just the bikes, then maybe it's 2 die, and then like there's 3 other models from the enemy on the objective, and it's not anymore. Maybe you can, like, for the viewers, because I think many people know already that Harlequins already, like, this whole transport dynamic is really strong for the objectives, really hard to get to them. But how do you still get these points? How do you not, people like put just, because you can just put a shadow, what's it called, storm speeder next to a Star Weaver, and then you don't have the points anymore or something. Like, how do you make, do you still do your primary points?
So basically what I tend to do is I don't deny the opponent score the 2 first turn, basically. I let him having 10, 20 on the 2 first turn. Because I find that begin to be aggressive too early is going to don't give you the end of the game. And at the end, it's really at the end of the game that you score a lot of primary. So even if you score 5 on the first turn, 10 on the second turn, you can still score 15 and 15 on the 2 last turn and have 45. So the 2 first turn, what I tend to do is to focus on killing stuff. Like I kill stuff, and then at the end of the game, like when I see the mistake, I go crazy and I'm on every objective. And when I'm on every objective, the opponent have to begin to chase me from his objective and stuff like that. That make that my objective are safe, and that allow me to score a lot of primary. Of course, going second help a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
I tend to max primary a lot more when I play second than when I play first. But like also when you like turn 1 and turn 2, I just don't play the primary. Like I'm not going to try to score a 15 on turn 1. Like if there is no way to score a 10 safe way, I'm not going to try it. Like I'm going to wait that my opponent go the first on the objective, and then I'm going to begin to trade, kill his stuff, and go back in safety with all the trick that Harlequin can do. And so I killing his stuff without committing anything, or very little. And then he begin to run out of stuff, and I still have my 10 bike and my 12 player doing nothing. Then I can just go crazy in the time I say the mistake and killing a big stuff in a one turn. And then he begin to struggle to deny my primary. He has to fight for his primary. And when he fights for his primary, there is a big chance, like the dice going a little bit in my way, and like there is one player left at one objective, or like I do the interrupt to go away strategy to like take an objective from him, and that allow me to gain prime on primary in the later game.
I'm pretty sure your teammates say that it's always go a little bit in your favor at the end for one goddamn player standing on the objective.
Yeah, that's really
Yes.
really obvious. Like anytime they say, "Oh, you roll 4 up at this point," but they don't realize that basically I made everything that even if I didn't roll the 4 up, I don't care. Like I still win. Like it allowed me to win bigger, right? But I made that the math. Even if they go wrong in my way, I don't lose a lot. I don't care. And if they go in my way, I can win a lot. Like
this is a bit off topic, but while we are at it, I really want to ask you this because you have played the Harlequins before 9th edition, and 9th edition basically didn't raise their points, so they got relatively cheaper. And I come to the conclusion now that I feel the Harlequins are too defensively equipped. Like their 4+ is actually too strong, because I feel it's in so many situations. Maybe it's also dependent on the meta, but so many situations in the meta right now, I feel like my Harlequins, they have like a storm shield. Because people just have so much AP anyways, and then it's just like, oh yeah, this is just like half a Vanguard veteran, but it's actually better because if you have damage 2, it's like 2 Vanguard veterans. And do you think that this is true, and also this is a change from before 9th edition and so on?
Yes, I that's very true. Like the fact that like I don't think now it's really true, and I think it's going to change with Drukhari and stuff. But back when Marine was very prevalent, everyone was like preparing to face Marine, and when you're preparing to face Marine, you're not good against Harlequin. Like
and Marines are not good against Harlequins too, so we win.
Yeah.
And but what I was thinking about was that where comes the assumption we have that Harlequins are very fragile? Is it because they were fragile in 8th edition?
No, I think it's because really I'm really scared of like 5 intercessor with autoball rifle. Like when I see something, like is the first one I need to kill. That you need, because they can kill half of a squad in shooting and in combat. And basically is only because the meta, I think it's the meta that make you resilient. Like if back in the day where they were like in 8, they were like plenty intercessor everywhere. That was actually really hard because like you cannot trade against intercessor. If you begin
with 5+ Phenopain and all this stuff,
No, but even normal intercessor can just like kill. Like if there is 10 Harlequin in the open, 5 intercessor is going to kill 6 of them, and then the 10 men is not a 10 men anymore, and they are not as effective as they were. Like it's really the 4+ is really swingy because for me we are resistant in the meta. It's like if guys were prepared to face horde and stuff, we begin very squishy, I think. Like
you mean we are reliant on the meta, so if the meta switches, we might
I mean I guess no, I mean our resilience is going to be less strong. And I still think what make like I don't like rolling 4+. Harlequin are very strong for me because I don't have to roll save most of the time. And when I roll save, it doesn't matter that I succeed those save or not. Like in my plan, like when I throw a unit, the unit is dead, whatever happened. Like in my head, he is dead. If he survives, he's good. If not, anyway.
But doesn't also the edition that we are playing right now with the changes in terrain and everything, I think that also plays a role, doesn't it?
I'm used to playing WTC, and the WTC terrain are always tend to be very heavy.
Yeah.
But it's like without terrain, Harlequin is less good. Like
That's
like
for sure. Yeah.
we need terrain. Like without terrain, we begin to be a S tier army to like a B plus army.
Mm.
Like when guys can shoot at us in the early game and like turn one kill 2 boats maybe,
Mm.
it's too losing stuff is we don't have that many stuff. So every stuff you lose without winning anything, like without winning points, without trading anything, it's really really bad.
Yeah. I would like to get before we have to look at the time a little bit, and I think we are closing in on the first part of the podcast. So, a question that I still have is going back to the use of the CP, because you said it earlier that they are that CP are very important for Harlequins, and you have the CP machine now in your list as well. So, I would like to know, just as a general statement, where do you like to spend your CP, and where do you definitely not like to spend CP? I would guess re-rolling to hit for your fusion pistols is probably something you don't like to do. So maybe there are some things where you say, "Oh, this is really what I'm trying to save my CP for."
So I'm going to begin by the easy part. It's what I don't like to use.
Uh-huh.
It's basically what I don't like to use is the 3-up involve. That's the
Mhm.
first one.
Mhm.
Because that means that you rely on your dice roll to even rolling 3-up is sometimes really difficult. So when I use the 3-up involve is when my unit is in a really defensive spot. And I think if something go wrong, I don't want to lose any. Like if I see that he has a random last cannon that cover, I don't want to lose any bike I spend. But like when I throw up a unit, I'm not going to like put a unit of bikes with 3-up involve and send in the enemy line hoping they survive. They will never happen. And even like in my head when I say, so that's one CP I don't like to spend. Another one is for the +1 damage on player.
Mhm.
Like spending 2 CP on player or on bike, anything like this. Spending 2 CP on +1 damage is really like sometime you have to, but that's always something I don't like to do. And a last one I don't like is the fight again, because when I have to fight again, that means that basically I fail really hard, and like I fail to kill like those 5 intercessor that was really important to kill or stuff like that. So that's some of the CP I don't like to spend.
Can I
And
ask
then
you, because just to make it clear for the listeners, you don't like to, but sometimes you do, right?
yeah, you have to. Sometimes you
Okay.
have to. Yes.
Can
And
you elaborate this more? How does this work for you? Like,
so basically, for example, I mentioned that before. Basically, I say when 60 boys are next to 30, 2 times 30 boys, there, for example, I want to fight again because I will have value of that. But the more often what happens is like I charge 5 intercessor with 5 bike, and it's at a really swingy point, and I need to kill those 5 intercessor because it's like 10 points if I do, and I fail to kill them, then I will have to spend the 3. Like I will spend the 3 CP, but I don't like to do that. And I will, but, and also what I don't want to do is going for killing stuff too aggressively and spend the 3 CP to kill like 5 Vanguard vets more. Like sometimes it's not worth it at the end, and it's just a waste of CP. Like when I begin to play them, I was really enjoyable. Like I'm going to make my player +1 damage. I'm going to charge something, fall back, and then spend 3 CP to fight again. It was like spend 7 CP in one turn to kill like you kill 400 points maybe, but you really find that at the end it's not worth, I think, because you could have like sometimes very often I charge something, I was thinking spending the 2 CP and I'm there. In fact, I don't care if like I prefer doing the 1 damage and fall back, for example. So even if I don't kill the 5 guys, even I don't overkill them, I can always fall back. So like I say, the best stratagem I think I use, come to them now, is of course the fall back after fighting. That one is
the
really,
curtain
really
falls, yeah.
curtain falls. Yes, it's really, really important. So that's one I really like. My whole strategy is I use him like in the early game to preserve my resource, and then in the later game to like interrupt and fall back to score points. I use that, like I'm using that stratagem like 3 times per game really easily. Then I have the Fire and Fate, because Fire and Fate, it's really useful to like to win points. Like sometimes you want to go on objective, you're like 23 away from it, and you're there. Okay, I have to shoot. You shoot a random stuff, and then you go on the objective. or also, of course, the strat with the bike to shoot on something and then go hide between a wall, the classic. And the last one, the best one, is the auto advance 6, I think, because that makes that when I go out of the transport with my player, I move 17 for 1 CP. So that makes that I have a huge threat range without having like something 21 away from me. I just spend that CP and then now it's a 4 end charge. So, and like with Harlequin, I don't like to roll more than 5 end charge. Like I never like anything more than a 5 end charge is a
Always
risky
fails.
charge.
Yeah,
No, it's a risky charge. Like
yeah. Of course.
I'm always there. Oh no, a 6. If
would-
I fail, no, it's bad.
It would make you do a CP reroll for that, and you don't want to do that because a CP
Yeah.
reroll is half a curtain for it.
Yeah. So yes, of course, and you have to keep the CP for those reroll, of course. Even a 4 end charge, I will always like in the later game. Like I don't like having always only 1 CP. Like for me, turn 4 and 5, I have to have like 2 or 3 CP left, because that's the more important part of the game. It's the time where you're going to score the more thing, I think. So if you fail something really easily by rolling like a double 1 on a charge or something, you have to have the CP to reroll that.
Yeah, it totally matches what you told about your playstyle, that you want to react later and act later, and then you need the power to do so, of course. I myself have been in this situation a lot, where you go in the very beginning, you see something and you go in there, and then you do this, and then you have 3 CP left for the rest of the game, which is not very convenient, of course. So it totally makes sense what you're saying. So
Fred, can I
what
ask?
else do you? Yeah, what else on topics do you have before we move on to the matchups?
Yeah, I have one more for the general part, and this is the comparison of the play styles with the Frozen Star vehicle list, which you're playing. You're playing the vehicle list. I've seen other lists from you also have some of it, but really you have now 5, and they go around, and they really, from if you see it on the table the first time, looks like the typical Soaring Spite list, as I've said before. But maybe we could compare a little bit how the playstyle really differed, and so I would like, for a start, say the biggest difference is that the Frozen Star list much more quickly starts getting out of the vehicle, at least one by one. Is that, do you agree on that? And how would you describe the difference?
Between just to make sure, between the Soaring Spite and the Frozen Star.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, but basically, yes. I want to go out of the objective because I'm obsec and I want to deny point. And sometimes there is obsec, and obsec is always useful. Like you're going to deny point more surely than with a vehicle. Like if there is 5 intercessor on objective, it's a bad idea what I'm going to say, but if you send a boat with 5 fusion, hoping like, even if you send two boats with 10 fusion to kill the 5 intercessor and to take the objective, it's really risky, And at the opposite, if you just walk out the 5 player and take the objective, it's cool. And then if by the same time you can charge the 5 intercessor, and there is melee, the matter, like you have more attack, so you have more chance of killing them. So even if you kill 3 of them, you still kill half of the unit, and you still have obsec on the objective. So you still deny them. So yes, you're right by saying that I want to go really quickly out of my vehicle at one point. But also, what make also me, the fact, the last FAQ, but it was not applied in the tournament, I think. But the last FAQ say that when you curtle fall, you can, because it's a normal move, you can re-embark in the transport. That make that you are also, like, for 1 more CP, basically you're doing what Soaring Spite is doing, but you have more punch in close combat. So at one point, I had run Soaring Spite only for that strat, and I was running combat Soaring Spite in both. But I find that sometimes the extra attack make the difference, mainly on bike.
Yeah. The bike difference is huge, right? From 3 to 4 is. I have been playing Frozen Star for a long time, and then switched for the playoff phase to Soaring Spite, and my 5-man bike unit. I'm like, I'm not gonna charge anything because it's not gonna do anything.
Yeah. So yes.
Yeah. I had one thought in my head I want to add to this as well. So maybe because you brought up this example, maybe this is a good question to highlight what you have said before. Would you use +1 damage on your players if you attack these 5 intercessors, or would you just like attack, maybe kill 1 or 2, but stay on the objective? What's your usual thought on that?
I would not use the +1 damage because basically the fallback is the same cost of CP. So basically, if you have 5 players, if you charge with 25 attack, there is still a chance that you kill all of them. Like it's not like even if you kill like 4 and 1 live on 1 wound, it's fine. And then if you fail completely, like you don't kill any of them, you can always fall back for 2 CP and still having the objective. So having those 2 CP make even with damage 2, there is a world where everything, like if you don't have the reroll from the True Master, you could fail to you roll it's happened to me many times. You roll 10 ones and 2 in the to hit, and then you do the same 2 wound, and you're like, okay, you have 5 wound now, and I spent 2 CP to kill 3 intercessor. Yes, and if that happened with 1 damage, I only kill 1.5 intercessor, but then I fall back and I still have the objective. I would spend the 2 CP for giving another example. If there is 5 intercessor and there is 10 other guys who are not upset on the objective. And at that point, it's really, really important that I kill the 5 intercessor. But at that point, I would probably also put the True Master to give the full reroll to wounds and stuff like this to make sure I kill those. Or even shooting at those 5 intercessor with bike and Star Weaver before to make them to 3-man intercessor to make sure I kill them in every, it's not an option that they doesn't die.
Yeah, because the only rerolls we have is the reroll to wound and close combat, which is very strong, but it's if we can just roll lots of 1s and 2s and then nothing happens. Yeah. I really like the point here. You'd say it's the same amount of CP to use, and the one involves dice rolling and the other one doesn't. And as you have said before, the 5 troops probably will be dead anyways if they stand in the open and killed 4 intercessors or non-intercessors. You know what I mean?
So there is always the option to not charge.
Yeah,
I think that's the idea with Soaring Spite is you shoot the fusion and you not charge. But I like charging, you know. If you don't kill anything, you're going to be there is going to be too much left at the end of the game, and you still have to kill stuff. I think. But
yeah, I had many more questions about the difference in the team tournament because okay, we should probably go on, Tom, right?
Yeah, looking at the time, I think we should try to close in on the end of phase 1, or of part 1 of the podcast. So I don't know if you have anything else on your list for the general overview.
Yeah. Okay. So this would be now the time. So first of all, thank you very much, Liam, for going with us through your list and giving all the insights into your thoughts on 40k and especially Harlequins.
Thank you to have me in on the podcast. It's going to be very cool.
Yes, it is going to be even better. We will go into all the details of the matchups in depth in the second part.
Yeah, but before we go there,
lead us over. Yeah.
Before we go there, Liam, we have the option for you. You can give some shout-outs if you want. We always do this on part 1 because part 1 usually is open for the general public on YouTube and iTunes and whatsoever. And the part 2 usually is only for our Patreons. But today, because it's the English podcast and only one, we're just going to put it out there anyway. So, but please now, any greetings, shout-outs you want to leave, the stage is yours.
I want to shout out to, of course, Team Belgium because it's very cool to be in, and also to all my teammates from Autistic, from the Discord that we had made the Greekhammer without, and it's really my training partner in that COVID time, and I'm training a lot with them, so it's always very cool. So thank you to you guys, I suppose, and and also thank you to you guys, I suppose, for having me in. So voila, I think that's to be polite.
Thank you a lot for being here. And like I said, we will go into more details of the matchups and how this list plays against different styles of play and against different types of armies in the second part. So stay tuned, bear with us. And after a short break, we will start with the second part.